So my name is Michael Hamelin. I'm Tufin's Chief Security Architect. I split my time half between working in R&D I work for the CTO, Reuben Harrison, and the rest of my time I spend meeting with customers and speaking as Tufin's Chief Evangelist in the field.
What does Tufin do for PCI compliance?
So for PCI compliance, Tufin has a very detailed report that runs through approximately 20 checks from the PCI auditor check, analytically through the firewall, to gather the data for the firewall admins so they have everything they need to start answering the firewall audit about what the firewall allows to pass between zones, back and forth between devices which might or may not hold cardholder personally identifiable information.
So how much time does Tufin save them?
So depending on the organization, most of our customers have lots of firewalls. They're saying that they can save anywhere between 2 to 5 hours up to 2 to 5 weeks worth of data gathering. If you've got 100 firewalls and you can gather it all in one report that runs in 40 minutes, you've saved weeks of effort of manually going and gathering all this data to give to the auditors.
What are the benefits Tufin offers for cross-vendor environments? Talk loud.
So the great part about Tufin is that it is vendor agnostic, as it's processing firewalls, compliance, audit. You can run the same report against all of your vendors. So if you've got a Checkpoint and a Juniper and a Fortinet firewall in your environment, you don't have to do 3 audits. You can run one audit and you'll evaluate all 3 firewalls with one audit with the same analytical assumption. So where you normally get the whim of each auditor on each firewall product, now you have one analytical, repeatable audit that you can run across them. One compliance policy that you can write and enforce between all your zones, regardless of how each vendor participates in operating a DMZ versus an internal network. You can write a policy that audits what protocols you allow from the internet to the DMZ and enforce that across all your vendors.
Is there anything that you'd like to say when you evangelize Tufin? What do you think are the most important things?
So I think the most important things are Tufin allows you to bring teams together. So not just in the firewall team, when you have multiple firewall team members, you can get them all in sync so that my changes go to Mark or John or whoever else is on the team, but also it gives a point to bring your auditors, your compliance, and your firewall team together where they can see the policy, see the changes, all represented in a way everybody can understand. So you don't have to export a firewall policy, take it over to another person, email it around. Everybody can come to one GUI and see what you're doing, where you're progressing on the stance of your compliance and security of your firewalls.
How unaligned are these people from each other? Do they talk to each other ever?
You know, in some organizations they're very aligned and you get groups that work well. Most organizations, they tend to be completely focused on different projects, reporting to different managers, not aligned with each other. In the worst cases, in the very large organizations, they're in different buildings, different sides of the campus. Sometimes they're in different cities. So they're often mostly not aligned. You get compliance and security audit folks who visit the firewall admins once a quarter and do a firewall assessment. So Tufin lets you do that continuously. The changes can go to each person every week, every day, every month.
Knowing that we eliminate bloated rule bases, if you had to give a percentage about how much more secure you'd be using a tool like Tufin, what would you say?
It's a pretty hard number to put down, but I would estimate most customers see a 10 to 20% increase in their security stance, just in removing shadowed rules and unused rules are easy to remove, the bloated rule base, but also as they start looking at it and getting more sophisticated, they start finding rules that are conflicting with each other, they find rules that can be consolidated, and they start finding permissive rules. So we can run a permissive rule analysis, we can run on that rule that's in there because you went to run a product into production and you couldn't get it to work, and you couldn't get the network to work, you couldn't get the flows through the firewall, and you end up with an any for a protocol. We can run a permissive rule analysis on that now and find the 15 or 20 protocols that are needed to make that rule work. So you take out 65,000 odd protocols you've been allowing. So you can actually, now with the permissive rule analysis, start drilling down very deep and increasing your security.